Hello, buddy. Silverstrings here, and welcome to the first episode of Table Talk. This is a new series I've been wanting to try. I've been DMing for almost a year now. I kind of realized that a lot of people want to play D&D, but they don't understand how to get started, or they just don't understand what the game is. Even though they are interested, they just don't know what it is. And which that's fair. That makes sense. So I'm gonna try this new series called Table Talk. The first couple of episodes here will be focused on informing people how to get involved in the wonderful world of D&D. So, there's not too many supplies that you will need to start playing D&D, but there are a few essentials that you can't play without. You will need at least one player's handbook, which the group can chip together to buy if you're short on cash. The player's handbook contains all the rules you'll need to play the game, as well as the information on making characters, such as races, classes, equipment, supplies, and all the spells that any spellcasters use. Um, uh, there's a couple of books that you don't need to play D&D, but the player's handbook you definitely do need to have at least one. The DM, I would also recommend to have a monster manual. It is possible to play without a monster manual, but I wouldn't recommend it if you're not a very experienced DM, because balancing fights when you don't really know what you're doing, especially, excuse me, especially if you don't have anything to really base it off of, it's not easy. I've done it with a couple of things, but I'm experienced. I would consider myself to be an experienced DM now. The Dungeon Master's Guide is nice to have, but for the most part, you can play without it. I don't use it myself for the most part. Most of it is just tips on creating encounters and world building. The most useful section on it is the chapter on magical items, but I create a lot of those on my own as well. Now, having physical dice is always preferable. It's a lot nicer to have the dice to be able to throw around the table. But it is possible, and if you don't have the money to buy like dice sets are like $5 for cheap ones, and they all work the same way. But if you don't have the money to get some dice, then there are hundreds of apps on your phone that you can use. I mean, for example, like I can pull it up right now. There we go, dice app. Just make sure that it has the the full set, D4, D6, etc., etc. You will, of course, need character sheets. Now, for some reason, my group has a very hard time of finding those on their own. So I will be putting a link in the description for the ones that I use. You can find them on the Wizards of the Coast website. Just make sure that you're using the printable versions. I do recommend also having a lot of pencils and erasers. You're going to be doing a lot of writing and erasing, like, a lot of things. And lastly, you really need somewhere to play. A nice open room is preferable, but just try to get whatever you can as long as it's able to fit everyone that you're playing with. We use it's a pretty long table. I think it's like 3x6 or something like that. It's like a 3 foot by 6 foot table, and that is able to fit all 7 of us, me and the 6 people who I play with. I'm the DM for my group. DM as also, because I kind of forgot to mention that. Again, this is for newer players. For if you don't know what a DM is, they are the dungeon master. The dungeon master is more like they're the narrator of your campaign, basically. They're the narrator and moderator is probably the best way to put it. So that's pretty much all you really need, aside from, of course, people to play with. I would recommend for a starting group, especially if you're a new DM, to have about 4 players. If you're a little bit more comfortable, or if you played a little bit, then 6 players is possible. And if you're like one of the best DMs, play with 8 players. It's not easy. I have had a couple of sessions with about 8 players, and it's very hard to keep things under control, just because there's so much that's just going on around you at all times. So personally, I recommend playing with 4 or 6, depending on just kind of what kind of session you're looking for. Now, if you're completely new to the game as a player or as a DM, don't worry too much. Now, if you're all new players, you're going to have fun, regardless of what's going on, no matter how good someone else is or how bad other people are. If you're all new, no one's going to notice, and it's going to be fun. If you're joining a group of experienced players, most people, especially my group, or people like my group, I should say, most players are more than happy to help somebody new figure out how the game works. The part of the biggest experience of D&D is figuring out how the game works and just figuring out how you fit into a group and into the game world. Um, the basic rules are really easy to pick up. Everyone who plays will be able to teach you them. Um, and it really doesn't take that long. We were all brand new players, and now most of us, understand the game now, and it's a lot of fun. Um, oh, did you say the most important tool you need to play D&D, and you cannot play without this, is your own imagination. D&D, honestly, is a marvelous world full of action and adventure, and there's nothing limiting the possibilities except for your own creativity. Just now, this here is just a quick little video introducing what the series is going to be and telling you what kind of things you need to actually play the game. Next week, hopefully, I will be going over how to make a first level character, including your race, class, and all your starting features and equipment. So, I hope you enjoyed this quick little video, and I'll see you next time.